Hi there. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Project Life, and I'm going to share with you my the last half of 2015. So from July to December of 2015. I'm happy to say that it is finished. The first half of the year isn't quite finished, but the second half is. So I'm going to do a quick flip through. First of all, I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can find my blog at www.stampintreasures.com. So most of what I use is Stampin' Up! Product and Stampin' Up's Project Life product line. Alright, so this album is one of our albums, the gray and white striped album, which is great, I love it. So because this is the second half of the album, I've got a title page in here, and what I did, I kept it really simple. I did a quote and added some die cuts here. This is using the Botanical Gardens bundle that's in the Occasions 2016 catalog. And I do Project Life a little bit differently. When I first started, I tried the weekly spread, how it's intended to be. I found that did not work for me. So I do it monthly. So what I like to do is the first page, it always has a calendar, and I fill in what we had going on. And then basically I document on a monthly basis. There are some weeks where I don't take any pictures whatsoever, and there's other weeks where I have lots of pictures. And I just pop my pictures in. I print lots in 3x4, and then some in 4x6, and I pick the page protector that works best. Sometimes I have to cut up the pictures, sometimes I have to resize them, and I'll share that along the way. But I just found that this is what's working for me. This is how I'm able to pretty much keep up without a whole ton of pressure of making sure that I have some pictures every week. I take pictures when I see something that I want to document, a story that I want to tell. And as a traditional scrapbooker turned Project Lifer, initially that was very hard for me. Before, I would only take pictures when we had an event or company over, or some sort of more major event happening. Now I find that my pictures are a little bit more everyday life things, and I'm telling more stories. There's a lot more journaling that I do now, a lot more stories that I tell now compared to being a traditional scrapbooker. Okay, so I'm just flipping through. As you can see, most of the things that I've used are Stampin' Up! Product. However, there are some other things in here. This is, I can't even remember what, it's a travel kit, not from Stampin' Up! And this is just a snapshot of a trip that I took to go to the Stampin' Up! Salt Lake City convention. So I didn't want to make it include a whole ton of photos in there because it's not a family trip that we took, but it is something that I did, and I do want to include that type of thing in my album as well. So this particular page protector was awesome for that. You could fit lots of 3x4 photos in there, so it kind of told the story a little bit. I like to use lots of memorabilia. This was a congratulations card that I received, so it fit in there nicely, so I just cut it up so it would fit in the pockets. In our Let's Get Away, Stampin' Up's Let's Get Away accessory pack, we have these great things that allow you to add keepsakes into the albums. So this was a card that I received for a milestone with Stampin' Up! That I really wanted to include it in the album, so I added those to it and included that in there. And then to get around, so because I've got my monthly calendar on this page, to get around that 12x12, sometimes I have a traditional layout that goes in here, and sometimes I don't. So this is the way I can fill up this page so that I don't have a blank page. So I just printed off a quote, matted it on some cardstock, and then stuck it on the back of the white. So again, monthly calendar, telling stories, adding pictures. I had some little embellishments. Here's a way that I get around the pocket configuration. So obviously this is a vertical picture, but I didn't have any vertical pockets in there. So I just strategically mounted it onto two cards and then cut down the center. Well, it's not even the center. I just made sure I wasn't cutting through my daughter's head. So that's one way that you can get around that. And another thing that I love to do is I love to create traditional layouts and combining them with a pocket page so that you can include a lot more photos. But the other thing is I like to use Project Life cards on a traditional page. So this one is from, I can't remember what pack it's from. I'll put it in the notes section at the bottom of the video. I'll include that. So these are cards, and then these are little embellishments from the accessory, the coordinating accessory pack. And then I just added some stamps on there. And here's another traditional layout. And here I've got some tags tucked into a little pocket. And here, this page I'm going to slit right here so that the tag can be accessed from down here rather than sticking your hand in. But I did some journaling on a tag that can be tucked in there. Another thing that I like to do is I like to include embellishments sometimes on top of the page protectors. It just allows a little bit more depth. And there was a lot of clutter in the bottom of that photo, so it helps hide some of that clutter as well. And then there's this one. Initially, I think as a traditional scrapbooker, I like my pages to match, but now that I've been doing Project Life a little bit more often, it's not so much about everything matching. So this was from the seasonal Snapshot Project Life kit 2015 that we had in our holiday catalog. I loved all the craft colors, so those were where those cards came from. And then this layout happened to be, this picture was from this month, so I included it here. It doesn't necessarily match, but I'm okay with that. At some point you just have to let it go and just get things done so that you can enjoy them. And you know what, to be honest, when your family is flipping through, they're not going to notice if it matches or not. And I think I've realized that. Another thing I like to do is shaker cards added into pockets. And then here, again, about including mementos. For Founders Circle, we received an agenda, and it was all kind of this kind of a theme and these kind of patterns, and it had this little embellishment on the top. This was the cover page for it, so I just trimmed it down so that it would fit into a 4x6 pocket. And then every night we got pillow gifts, and we had little tags attached to the pillow gifts, so I kept those and incorporated them into my pages as well. Another thing that I like to do to mix things up is use a variety of sized page protectors. So this is a 6x8 pocket with the West Side Story program in it, and then a note from the housekeeping staff at the hotel that we stay at. My name badge is in here. This background was actually our placemat at breakfast. I made sure not to spill anything, and then I kept it, brought it back to the hotel room, and included that as background on there as well. And then here's one that does happen to match. This is actually, these cards on this page are actually from the baby kit that we have right now. And again, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll post it in the links below, or in the information below. This one includes a little pocket that has another photo in there. And then again, some of the things are on the outside of the page protectors. This particular one, I really liked this wood grain card that was in this card collection, and I didn't have any pattern paper to match. I really wanted to carry over that wood grain from this pocket page onto this layout, so I took one of the 4x6 cards, and it's hard to tell, but there's this, a joint right there, but unless you look closely you can't tell. So that's how I use that. And again, this is more of that seasonal Snapshot 2015. Love the craft colors. This is more of it. Again, this is another one where I included, on a traditional page, I included the Project Life cards. So all three of these are Project Life cards. This was a card that I punched out, and then this was a card that I cut out, and then the embellishments from the accessory pack. Oh, here's another thing that I like to do. I really like the look of floating elements. So this is just a punched circle from one of the cards, and then I put it onto a window sheet or a transparency, just a plastic piece. You don't see the plastic piece in the pocket, but it looks like something is floating in there. And then that's a different pattern that I've added on there. Let's see what else. Here I don't always use Project Life cards. Sometimes I will have some patterned paper that I'll cut down and use in the pockets. Again, including memorabilia. This was an invitation to center stage. These were the pins that we received. I just pulled off the pins off the back and included them in there. This was our grid paper for when for our stamping projects. I just made sure not to make a mess on it and brought it home and cut it up, added it on there. And then some traditional layouts. This is the Hello December 2015 Project Life Kit through Stampin' Up, and it looks like I have a little bit of journaling to do there. And again, a different sized pocket, and I'm okay with just blank pages like that. Initially, that was hard for me to get over. I felt like everything had to be decorated really pretty, but you know what? It's documented, it's done, and that is really key for me right now. I want these albums to be done and available for my family to enjoy. The other thing that I did this year was all the Christmas cards. I received so many great Christmas cards, some of them photo, many of them handmade. I included as many of them as I could in my project life. So this was a card that I cut down. This was a card that I cut down. This was another one. Here's another one here. This was an accent on a card, so I pulled that off and included. All of these are all cards that I received. So I really wanted to keep those in there because they mean a lot to me, so I wanted to incorporate them into Project Life. So I hope that helps you. Hopefully you've learned something from how I use Project Life. I know I get a lot of questions about how I keep up to date, and a lot of comments on it, especially as stampers and from stampers and traditional scrapbookers. And really, I think the key is just to make sure that you're taking pictures and printing pictures. And then what's great about Project Life is you can do it in chunks of time. So if you've printed your pictures and you've got them and you've got 15 minutes, grab a couple pages and slide your pictures into the pages. And then when you have another chunk of time, come back in and pick some cards. And then when you have another chunk of time, just go back and embellish or add your journaling. It's really as simple as that, but you do have to make time to do it. So I think that is really the key, is just making sure that you set aside the time and make it a priority. All right, thanks for watching.